She's the worst. Like, she is the worst. But if she's not there, that movie doesn't hit the same.
Welcome to the Weekly Fix podcast, where we're just two friends talking about our passions within movies, TV shows, gaming, and comics. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We hope you like it. Welcome to Weekly Fix. We're happy to be back. We're a day late, but that is just, that's okay. You know, this stuff happens, life happens, and we're thankful that Jacob is here with us in studio again. I have absolutely loved doing these in person. It's been a blast to kind of get this set and actually have a conversation with you in person, see your expressions, and kind of feed off of your energy, which is super nice. You had a very long weekend, I know. Before we ask you about that, I know I just want to give you a preview of what's to come. We got some Star Wars news that we're going to cover quick. Then we got some MCU news, some rumors, and some confirmations that we want to cover. And then we get our first fan recommended episode, and we are going to be covering our favorite characters that we love to hate. But Jacob, you had a long weekend. You want to break it down?
Yeah, for sure. So, of course, I'm the reason we're late, but that is for a good reason. I actually went to my sister's wedding this past weekend, so I had to fly from Jacksonville to Pittsburgh. We got back in yesterday, but I was on like 2 hours of sleep, and I was like, Zane, I'm going to need a night to recover. I was like, I haven't even started my characters I love to hate list. I was like, I'm going to need a night. So that's why we're a day late, but it was awesome. A really great time seeing my family and some friends and stuff. The wedding was beautiful. So shout out to Nikki and Chance. I know Chance sometimes listens to the podcast, so he might be listening to this very episode. But no, it was really a great time. It was always fun. I'm super happy for them. But yeah, that's why we're a day late. Had a super busy weekend, but it was very fun.
Yeah, congratulations, Chance. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got to go be a part of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Did it stick? Did they get married?
Yes, there was
okay.
no
objections.
No objections. You always hold your breath for that part. But
have you ever been to a wedding where that's happened?
No, I hope I never am. I don't even want to know the secondhand awkwardness that I would feel.
I used to always think that would be like a common occurrence.
Yeah, like commonly like someone busting through the door.
Because it happens in movies so often, and it's like, someone objects.
It's like the Hallmark movies. It's like, the small town cowboy has to come in and save her from marrying the rich guy from the big city.
Oh yeah, like,
so
Grey's Anatomy. Like the two that really don't mesh. Like, we actually
love each other. No, none of that in this one. This is a clean, clear-cut wedding.
All right, good. So, we like clean, clear-cut weddings.
Yes,
that's great.
Yes.
But a little bit of Star Wars news. Some bittersweet controversy that's ravaging Twitter right now as the Acolyte Season 2 officially got canned. It is not happening. Jacob, I know you feel the way. I wanna break down your feelings on what you're feeling with the cancellation of Acolyte. I know it's close to your heart. It was your favorite Star Wars project.
It was 10 out of 10. No, but for real, this is super disappointing for me, and not just because I think this show is deserving of a second season. I don't. I gave it a 6. I don't think 6s are deserving of a second season. However, what I do hate about this is the fact that this was the first ever original live action show outside of The Mandalorian that we had gotten. Everything else has had a backstory or a character that we've known of from previous Star Wars stuff. So I think it's really disappointing that this show isn't going to get a second season to build off of some of the momentum I do think they gained towards the end of the show. I don't think the show, again, is deserving of it, but I think this kind of spells bad news for Star Wars in the future, because I know me and you have both talked about it many times on the podcast that we're sick of the same stories. We're sick of the whole Skywalker saga. We're sick of hearing about the Clone Wars stuff. And obviously it's all stuff we love. Like, it's cool. It's awesome. But I think that's why we like Ahsoka so much, is we're in a completely different universe. Everything is going to be so different now. And I think that's what Acolyte had going for it. We went to some new planets. We saw some new characters. We got to enjoy some new stuff in Star Wars. The Cortosis. We did get introduced to Darth Plagueis on the very last episode, which was going to be something I thought was really exciting to build on. But now we're not going to get any of that. So I think my concern mostly, and why I'm disappointed about it, is not because I love the show so much to where I think it needed a second season, but I feel like they're going to fall back on stuff that we've already gotten. Yeah. I think this, unfortunately, is definitely going to push forward a second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that's kind of the direction this is heading, because they're going to want to go back to something they're comfortable with. And I already told you, Obi-Wan Kenobi was my least favorite Star Wars show.
And rightfully so.
And not just because I hate Obi-Wan, I love him, but I think it did so much damage to the character and messed up the timeline and made way more plot holes than we originally had. I feel like they're going to start falling back on some of that stuff more. And I don't want that. I want new Star Wars content. It's one of the most expansive universes in all of fiction, all of sci-fi. I mean, there's so many different stories we should be getting. The Acolyte was finally giving us that, and then we're not getting it anymore. So I think that's where I'm disappointed with, just the fact that we might not be getting any more original stories for a while.
And I completely get that concern, and I hope they take the lesson learned, because I know a lot of people have been like, "Hey, if Clone Wars didn't get a second season, like it would have never turned into Clone Wars season 7.
Exactly.
It would have never found its footing. Breaking Bad wouldn't have got a second season, which is arguably the greatest TV show of all time. The Office, which is debatably the greatest sitcom of all time, may have not got a second season if we only built off the first. The difference is they didn't spend $180 million to produce it with an established IP.
Mhm.
And I think that's the issue is you already have the fan base. You don't have to go hunting for things. There's no chances. And if you take a chance in Star Wars, take a chance with, $20 million.
Oh, I agree.
Take a
I
chance.
agree with that.
And I hope that's the lesson they learn is don't just chuck money at a bad script. Like, let's get a good story. Let's get a showrunner who knows what they're doing, who is tested, or at least get some producers built around them. Like, and I personally think that our beloved David Filoni was overwhelmed or too busy to really oversee this project. He wasn't in the position that he is currently when this project started. Yeah. He didn't have the oversight privileges at that time. I'm sure he was involved, but he was not overseeing this the way that they made it intended, and I don't believe that. Now, he may have signed off on episodes, he may have signed off on things, but when you don't have the power to change things, he and I don't think he did when the ability to change things happened. I mean, you kind of just have to sign off on it. So I hope they take the lesson of give us better things, not let's go back to what we know. But I agree with you. I think Disney has learned that lesson 100 times now with as many sequels as got announced. I think they know what's safe. And I don't think that anyone wants to lose their job, so no one's going to take a risk.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think they should not be throwing money at this stuff. And I agree with the Dave Filoni stuff. I think it was kind of one of those things, the bed was already made, so he had to sleep in it. You know? Like, there was no fixing it by the time when he could have had some say in the things that were happening. But yeah, ultimately, I think personally, overall, I think it's bad for Star Wars. Yeah. Because I do feel like it is one of those things. They're going to go back to the more safe stories. And ultimately, I feel like this could just mean less Star Wars content overall. I mean, Star Wars content in general, we don't get a lot of throughout the year. Marvel, we get a lot of generally, but they've toned way back recently.
Crazy back.
Star Wars was already kind of toned back, when you're comparing it to something like Marvel, to Disney IPs.
Yeah.
So I think that's my biggest concern is like, how long are we going to wait till the next Star Wars show, right?
I think this is good. Yeah, I think this is good for Star Wars. I don't think they're going to go to what's known because I don't think there's too much left. I think they're going to have to start branching out. I mean, we could make a 5 series, on, the clone. Each clone gets their own series.
Which that might be kind of cool. I mean, I ain't going to complain. If we get like a Rex series, I'm going to be the number one fan.
You and Peyton are like, dude, give me every clone thing there's ever been. We love them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think they are going to take the lesson learned to really focus on good content, and I think Andor is kind of telling that lesson. It's not necessarily, I don't think that's in the Skywalker saga. It's in the timeline, but it's not in the saga because no one in there is Skywalker. No one in there is Obi-Wan. So I think personally, I think they can look at those two projects and kind of tell the tale. Like I think they can go, okay, we need to move towards good written projects, and it doesn't have to involve pre-known characters.
Well, and I think this puts a lot of pressure on Skeleton Crew, which is kind of not good for them. No. They need some. I think if this show would have been successful, they probably feel so much better about everything. But I think there's a lot of unwarranted pressure on this show now because it's the only original story we have planned right now. Andor was built off of Rogue One. So it is kind of an original story, but it had a lot of already stuff in place to where they didn't have to worry about certain storylines that they had to set up.
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew is completely original.
It is.
So like I said, outside of The Mandalorian, outside of, Acolyte, and now Skeleton Crew, those are the only original stories we've really ever gotten. Ahsoka's starting to tread that water because they're starting to get into a place that's completely unknown.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's still pretty much built off of Rebels.
And I would say that that's original content. Because Rebels was original content.
Yeah,
right? So it's in the timeline, but it's okay.
Yeah. So overall, like I said, I don't think Acolyte was deserving of a season 2, but that was my hope was that we would at least get a second season just to see where the story was going to go. I do see here a lot of people thinking that we're going to get those stories in maybe books or comics, which might be a good way for them to go about doing it. I think comic books are so cheap to put out. If they did like a 2 series, like 2 comic runs or something just to
Yeah.
wrap up the Acolyte story, I would be cool with that. But overall, that's my reasoning why I don't necessarily like it, as I hope they don't just fall back on doing original stuff. Like, if we start to get, like, a Clone Wars live action show, I'm going to be super disappointed.
Yeah.
Just because it's not needed. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully Skeleton Crew does well, and it fixes kind of this Star Wars curse that we have going on right now.
Man.
But Acolyte's down,
We'll
which,
see.
it's not bad, because it wasn't a great show, but
Yeah,
it's just I'm more so disappointed of the overall picture here,
Yeah.
not necessarily that we're not getting a second season of
Yeah.
Acolyte.
I think that if it gets awarded, it also could have done just as much damage, right? And saying, like, if we just chuck money at projects, it's going to be okay. So I think it's going to be a net win. You think it's a net loss for Star Wars, but we'll see. We'll see how they respond, because it's all up to Disney and how they respond to it, whether this is a win or loss. The good thing is, the Acolyte show did not deserve a season 2.
No, it didn't.
And it did not get one.
Yeah, that is the shining light for me.
I think we stopping giving projects continued
grace
when they don't deserve it, I think, is a step in the right direction and makes storytelling better, because it puts pressure on them.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think if the Acolyte just would have went for it, because I think that's one of the bigger lessons learned here, is just go for it. Don't hold anything back. Tell the entire story, tell a good story, and use everything you're allowed to use. If you were allowed to put Plagueis in it, put
he should have been there in
it.
episode 1.
He should have been there in episode at least 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At least 3 shining as the mentor to Kamir. But anyway, enough Acolyte. We've talked a lot of Acolyte. But we did get some other Marvel news. Robert Downey Jr., you were just telling me he made a statement today. You want to break that statement down?
Yeah, basically just confirming that he is not doing a Rogue Iron Man variant, which he's just going to be Victor Von Doom. Personally, I think that's probably the best way to go about this. I know a lot of people really wanted that infamous Iron Man storyline, which would have been cool. But I think this is probably the better way to go about it, just completely branch him off into a different character. Really, the question this brings up for me, though, is will we see Iron Man or Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., don the Iron Man suit again come Secret Wars? When we're having all these universes collide and there's other Iron Man variants, with him being Victor Von Doom now, I wonder if he's ever going to don the Iron Man suit again.
Yeah, I personally don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they may think it's just a little too cheese to have him come back in and save the day. And then if he doesn't save the day, it hurts him. So I think personally, if you're going to recast him, you just recast him.
Yeah.
And you play that character. And because if you bring somebody else in to play Tony Stark, I'm completely good with that.
I would prefer that.
Right. And I would too. And I think recasting is just a good thing in general. I think they should have recast Luke. I don't think they should have de-aged Mark Hamill.
Agreed.
I think that they should recast T'Challa.
Yep.
I just don't think holding actors in such high regard is the best thing. Anyone's recastable. And I understand there's characters that were born for the role and can do it, but other actors are just as good and may not do the role as well, but at the end of the day, if you're getting more of that character, it's better than holding on to something that may or may give somebody a chance.
Well, this goes back to Ahsoka, Ray Stevenson. He's not going to be back as Balin Skoll, and he tragically passed away. But they are recasting that character.
Okay.
And Balin was one of the best parts about that show. I think a lot of that is attributed to Ray as an actor. I think he did a phenomenal job. But I would rather them recast and let that story continue to be told than just kind of oh, he's just not here anymore.
Yeah.
And I think most of these actors would also prefer that. I think Chadwick Boseman would love for someone else to get the opportunity to play Black Panther, not only just because of the significance to Marvel, but just what it did for his life personally.
Correct.
So I think it's better that they're recasting
and he saw
people.
the cultural impact.
Exactly. So he would want that for somebody else. He would want someone else to get that opportunity. So I think this is hopefully the route they're going. I would like to see a recasted Iron Man in Secret Wars. I think that'd be really cool because I think Iron Man's such a good character. I think we could get a lot of other stories with him in it, whether he's the main one or just a supporting actor in some way. But no, I'm happy that they're just continuing with a Victor Von Doom story. I think it's going to make it a lot more impactful. And I think it's going to help people not think of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man anymore.
And I think the big thing is, I mean, Victor Von Doom hates his face and he never removes his mask.
Yeah, so we might not ever really even see.
So I'd say we'll see a little bit, but honestly, his speech lines will be probably the biggest thing. And I understand, we're paying Robert Downey Jr., so they want Robert Downey Jr.'s face, but that's not the character they cast him in.
Yeah.
So personally, I think they're going to be semi-true to the comics and make him completely masked almost the entire time. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, we might see his face when he's battle damaged, maybe chips in the helmet or something like that. But no, overall, I think he'll probably keep the mask on. You know, like Pedro Pascal, he hardly ever is in the Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
He's just the voice lines.
Yeah,
so
which
I
he
think,
hates.
Yeah, which, you know, but I think Robert Downey Jr. will probably prefer that at this point in his career.
Who knows?
You know, so I'm glad they're going completely Victor Von Doom story. I think it's better for the MCU also. So yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Okay. Good. And then the last piece of news we have, it's just a rumor, but Sidney Sweeney is rumored to be cast as Black Cat in Spider-Man 4. You are shaking your head in disapproval. Why is that?
I just don't think she's, you know, I've never seen her act in anything, so I don't know if she's a good actor or not, but I just don't think that's a role for her. She was just in the Madam Web movie, and I know they're two completely different universes. One's Sony, one's the MCU, but she obviously wasn't a good enough actor in that movie to get, you know, anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think she's really a phenomenal actor, personally. Again, never seen her in anything, but I never hear anybody say, oh, she's amazing.
Yeah, you only hear people say she's beautiful.
Literally. So I feel like that kind of is probably what this is, because in the comics and everything else, Black Cat is that for Spider-Man. You know, he's a semi-love interest that's always between her and Mary Jane, so that's probably what they're going for here. I just don't. I feel like it's, again, a cash grab, just something that's going to get people excited and probably more people. As if Spider-Man needed more people in the seats.
Absolutely.
This is one way to do it, though. I mean, they're probably going to get more people.
I don't know. I don't know who gets in the seats for this.
I don't think it. I think it's just like a help, you know. So, yeah, me personally, I mean, give or take, I don't like it, but it's not like I hate it, because I don't even know how. Yeah,
it's not detrimental to me, but it's a Marvel film. Like, I mean, personally, I don't think anyone's really going for that kind of stuff. So, but I mean, could be good, could be bad. Like you, I haven't seen her much, so I know a lot of people like her, but I personally don't have a preference one way or the other.
Yeah, so hopefully she proves me wrong. Hopefully she really is a great actor, but I just never heard anyone ever say she's not like the Timothée Chalamet of this, era.
Yeah.
So
no one has said that she's the best up and coming actress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully she proves me wrong, but
yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that brings us to the biggest part of our show today, and that is characters that you love to hate. Now, we had to go through some debate for this, because what does characters you love to hate actually mean? Does it mean that you love to hate them, like when something bad befalls them, you're happy about it, or you're really like, you just, man, everything in you when something, you really want them to die. Like when that character's on screen, you want them punched in the face, you want them to die. And that's not really what we were going for here. When characters you love to hate, it's kind of like a character is so good in their role, they bring so much charisma or some other form of brilliance to the role that you just enjoy, even though they're the antagonist, or even though they may not be the main character, or maybe be doing something bad. You love their presence on screen. You love them as an actor or as a character with what they've brought to the screen. A lot of times this is, for me, an actor is just overperforming in that role and really is a standout for the show. I think personally villains can be just as important, if not more important, than the actual heroes. I think a good villain will bring a show completely elevated. Whereas if you have an amazing hero but a lackluster villains, you kind of lose some of that. I think the Amazing Spider-Man is a great example of that. Completely lackluster villains, amazing Spider-Man, but lackluster villains. So I think the villains can really make it. So this is what we're kind of going with, and this isn't superheroes related. This is just character you saw on screen that you were infatuated with, I think, as a villain or as an antagonist that you really love to hate.
Yeah, and Zane even said they don't even have to be a villain, right? It could just be a character that you hate seeing, like you hate when they're involved, but they did such a good job at that role that you're like, I'm glad they're there because they made the story better.
A great example for something that's not a comic book is kind of like Newman from Seinfeld. Just a running gag of just someone that Jerry didn't like, and I think he's a good character. He didn't make my list, but he was thought about. I did think about him. He's just like, he didn't mean enough to the show for me to make him a top 5 character thing, or top 8. We have some runner-ups.
Yeah, we do. Which the runner-ups we'll probably try to run through a little bit. I don't think
I don't want to give any kind of background or justification for our runners-up, because we have 5 to break down for each of us. So do you want to go ahead and give your 3 runner-ups?
Yeah, for sure. So some of my runner-ups, again, these are characters that I hated when they were on the screen. I hate, like, everything they do, but they're so good at it that I just enjoy that they're there. I think they do a good job of it. One of mine is pretty fun, and I hate this character. I hate the way their attitude is in the movie, but I love that they're there because I think they make the story better, and that's Eddie Brock in Spider-Man 3.
No way.
Yes, I hate that character. I hate him so much. When he's on the screen, I'm irritated, but I feel like it does make the story better. I don't think the acting is good. I hate like his whole I'm better than Peter Parker and everything. I hate when he's like in the Catholic Church and he's like praying to like kill Peter Parker. I hate all of it.
Okay.
But I think he does such a good job in that movie. And I think Spider-Man 3 gets the most hate for poor acting and all that stuff. But something about it, when I was thinking about these, it's a runner-up. It's a runner-up. And I hate him so much when he's on screen. I hate his attitude, but I think he does a good job in what he's supposed to be doing. So that was one of my runner-ups. Okay. One of them's from an animated show, and I had to give the Star Wars some love, obviously, because I don't have any other Star Wars on my list, and that is Pong Krell from Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I hate Pong Krell.
Is that the 4 lightsaber general?
Yes, that it's basically Rex's biggest arc in the Clone Wars, and I think that was such a good arc because it makes you understand the clones, that they're not just soldiers. That was, I feel like, the arc that really pushed that forward, because he is treating them as pawns, like, you know, they're limitless numbers, you know, just send them out there to die. So I hated him, but I feel like he was so important to the story of the clones that I like that he was there.
Their autonomy, like
they're people, you know, they're not just mindless beings. So he was my other one, and then my last one was Percy from the Green Mile. I absolutely hate that character, but I think he adds so much to the story of the Green Mile. So that's why I went that.
Coming out of nowhere with Green Mile. What an amazing movie.
Yes.
Dude, that's a good one.
Yeah, because I hate him. Yeah. He's always doing something bad. He's always treating these prisoners like they're not human, which a lot of them are there for bad reasons.
That's a great pick, Jacob.
Yes.
And that's a runner-up.
I'm excited. It's a runner-up.
Man,
so he
that
probably
one made
shouldn't
me so
be,
excited for your list.
He probably shouldn't be a runner-up. He should probably be on the list, but some of these other ones I had more fun with, and I'm excited for you to hear my number 5, because you're going to laugh when I say it, because I hate this character, but it brings so much to the story of the next one. But yeah, Percy is my third runner-up.
Man, when he didn't dip that sponge.
Yeah, what's he say? He said, I didn't know the sponge was supposed to be wet.
Yeah, even though he faked it.
Yes, so like, you hate him. Like, he's such a terrible person, but he does such a good job and brings so much to the story. So.
Okay, I think those are some, minus the Venom. I don't love the Eddie Brock pick, but I'm glad he's a runner-up.
Yes.
I'm nervous for your number 5 now. But anyway, so my runners-up are Colonel Hans Landa from Inglorious. He is played by Christopher Waltz, and he does such a good job. Anytime that you can have a German killing Jews and be like, wow, he's doing a great job. Like, that's like... like you really hate everything about him and everything he stands for and everything he's doing. But I think Christoph Waltz is one of the most underappreciated actors of our generation, which is saying something with the accolades and the awards he's gotten. I think he is just that good. I even thought of him like in Django Unchained. He does so good. And hearing Jamie Foxx like representation of Christoph Waltz is just so good. But like, yeah, and him and Inglourious, I just really love that you can actually like his character even though he's so terrible, and you keep finding yourself like, okay, don't cheer for that guy. Like I know he's doing an incredible performance, but stop. Like he's a Nazi,
literally.
Like, a literal Nazi. So an amazing movie. But yeah, he's runner up. The next one is Agent Smith from The Matrix, played by Hugo Weaving, and another outstanding act. I think you're gonna get the drift from my. From my list. Just amazing performances. But Hugo Weaving in The Matrix, you know, you kind of like get the... Man, when he's just like in the rain and he's like talking to Morpheus and he's breaking down when he's getting the rain pelted on him and he's like, I want out of here. I hate your stench. And he's like just breaking it down. Like you hate him because he's torturing Morpheus. Like right there. Morpheus. Yeah, Morpheus. Oh man, he's torturing Morpheus right there in that room, and you just hate him so much. But he's doing such a good job. He's adding so much to the movie, and I think he's definitely one that was worthy of being mentioned. Even though I couldn't really put him on this list because I don't know why he didn't make it, but I just think the other 5 were a little bit better. And then I had to put an MCU boy on here because I don't have anything else from the MCU yet, really. But that's Namor from Wakanda Forever, played by Tanakh Herta. And I think he just does such a good job of making you even better than Killmonger. right? Being relatable and feeling like understanding why he's doing it, the justification for what he's doing. You understand his love for his people and what he's been through, and you get like why he would go to war for everyone. You think it's almost justifiable. You wish that they could side with him and that he was a good character. But man, because of what he's doing, you're like, you gotta be stopped.
Yeah.
So I love Namor, and I hope we get so much more of him in the MCU, and I really hope that I learn to just love him for love him, because I hope he turns to the good side as opposed to being an antagonist. But I thought he was such a good villain and one of the best villains of the entire MCU, in my opinion.
See, so I had a problem when I do have one more MCU character on mine, and one that I didn't. I'm gonna go ahead and say, and it's kind of similar to the Namor thing for you, is Thanos.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite villains of all time. Ultimately, the reason I couldn't go with him is because, like, kind of like what you said, you almost, like, obviously we joke about the genocide thing all the time. I'm like, you kind of understand what he's doing, and you do. He's trying to make, because what happened to his planet was they got overpopulated, and so he's trying to make sure that doesn't happen everywhere else. So you kind of understand where he's coming from, even though it's a terrible thing he's trying to do. It's kind of like that too. So I love that pick for Namor. Thanos ultimately didn't get it because I gave it to another MCU character that I really legitimately hate, and I hated them in the movie and everything. You might even know where I'm going with it.
Well, so like, I think I know the character you're going to, and I'll let you say it. I won't steal your thunder, but I was going to put them on this list until I just think I don't think he carried any likability. There was no love for me for this character, and I just hated everything there was about him. And so I really wanted to make sure that, like, in my list there was something I loved. Like, I was almost like on their side. And so that's kind of my character. Like my sheet is like, they were pulling me to their side, but yet I hated them because they were so evil.
See, mine were more so I just hated them. Okay. Like, I did not like anything about him. Like, there was no convincing me to even want to join that side.
Well, then Eddie Brock's a great pick.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, I hated him, but I think they added a lot to the story.
Okay.
So I think that's fun dynamic between our lists, because they're still ultimately the same thing. Yeah. But we kind of looked for different things about the list.
Yeah, what they brought to the table.
Yes. Okay. So that's super fun. But
do
you want me to start with number 5?
Yeah, I want to go.
So my number 5 is my number 5 is a fun one. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's my least favorite thing about the movie. But if they weren't in the movie, it wouldn't be as good. And that is Jenny from Forrest Gump. I hate
Jenny.
I hate that character. I hate her so much.
14 Jenny.
Yes, she's the worst. Like, she is the worst. But if she's not there, that movie doesn't hit the same. You know,
no.
She's so important to it. It's all
thread that pulled the whole time.
Yes, it's all he cares about is taking care of her. So she's super important. But man, do I hate everything about. I hate all the mistakes. Like, she just doesn't ever care for Forrest.
Just uses him.
She only cares for him when he's rich because he invested in Apple. I'm going to die on that hill that she never actually loved him. She just wanted the money. But anyway, I hate it. Like, but she's so important to the movie. She does pull everything together from the start of the movie to the end. Yeah. She's so important to it. And I just hate her. Like, I would almost put her at number 1 if it was just characters you hate. Oh, yeah. Because I despise her. But no, she's going to stay at number 5. But she's important. I think she does a good job acting in that character. She makes you not like her. And I think that's what they wanted. They wanted a character that you didn't like any of the decisions you made because you cared so much about Forrest. So she was my number 5. I just hate her. I would never on her side. I didn't care what disease she had. I didn't care anything about her. Like, get her off the screen.
Yeah.
The best part of the movie is when she's gone. But she does bring a lot to the story. So that's why
because
I picked her at 5.
Without her, there's no story.
No,
right? Like, the story of Forrest Gump is his entire kind of battle with trying to find people to care about him.
Yep.
Right. And kind of fit into this world that he doesn't fit into.
Yep.
And she's
like the ultimate part of that, because from the very beginning, she was the only one that did pull him into the world. And then when she's gone, he's kind of like, well, I don't have anything anymore. Yeah. So he does start doing all the crazy stuff. He joins the military, he goes running, right? So that's why I like it so much. She's terrible, but she's so important to the character.
Man, what a good pick.
Yeah, so she was my number 5.
Okay, Jenny from Forrest Gump. Man, that's a good one.
Yep.
So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but my number 5 is actually from Breaking Bad, and that's Gus Fringe from Breaking Bad, played by Giancarlo Esposito. Man, what an incredible performance, and plain opposite of Heisenberg, and just everything that he brings to this show. His professionality, his intimidation, his like you're always worried that he's going to take over the show. He's going to be the one that is successful and comes out top, and you hate it because he's starring opposite of Walter White, and he's just they're in constant head. Even when they're together, they're opposing viewpoints, they're opposing characters, and you don't want him to be successful because, well, at the end of the show, I don't know who you're voting for because I think Walter White is the ultimate villain in that show, and it's shown from a character's antagonist point of view. But you definitely don't want Gus Fringe to do it. And when he meets his ultimate demise, it is just a satisfaction, a shock. You're sad that the character's gone, but you're also super thankful that he's dead. Like
that's perfect for this list.
That is the ultimate heartbreak. It's like, man, and I just spoiler alerted everyone. Breaking
that
Bad.
Show's been out for so long.
Spoiler alert for any of the shows we're talking about because we are.
I don't think we probably
down.
Don't have any too recent. I don't think I don't think I have anything too recent.
No.
So I think we're good there.
Okay. All right.
But no, I think that's a perfect premise for this list though. Like you're so happy when they die, but you're kind of like, well, how do you get better than that?
Yeah, I don't get any more Giancarlo Esposito.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That was kind of like probably his breakout role. I know he's been in a lot of stuff, but I feel like that's probably what he gets accredited with the most when you look at his career in acting. Obviously, he's taken some big roles on since then.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's like kind of what really got him set is like he's always known as the villain now.
I think that's what found his niche.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what put him in his place to like, okay, man, he's really good at this.
Yeah.
And he may be like incredibly typecast now because of that role. But I personally don't know anything that he was done before that was incredibly well known or that he got accolades for. But yeah, in that role, I think he is one of the perfect characters that you love to hate because he adds so much to that show, and to get somebody in there that is starring opposite of Bryan Cranston is just incredible. And Bryan Cranston is such a good actor, and he really shines so much in Breaking Bad. To bring somebody in, and that whole show is just amazing, but to bring somebody in who can have as much stage presence and as much intimidation and as much presence on the screen and still hate them, I think that was really like just an outstanding character. And that really speaks to the others on this list because, man, I think he has a fight for any spot on this list, honestly. But he landed at 5 to me because he came to my mind later than some of these other characters.
Okay. Well, see, so Breaking Bad is one of those shows. I know how it is. I never have watched it though.
Okay.
But I know like it's been out for so long. I know the people that die. I know all that stuff. But it's one of those shows I need to watch just because so many people, I feel like big starts for them. You know, Bryan Cranston's another one of those guys that he's probably attributed now. When you think of him, you think of Walter White. Obviously, he was the Malcolm in the Middle's dad. He's done some other stuff, right? But that's like his role. And I think Aaron Paul is the same way. You know, you think of him as Jesse Pinkman. So I think it's really cool that
even if you haven't watched the show.
Yeah, even if like literally, I haven't. That's who I think of though, and I don't know anything about the character. I don't know any of that. Well, I do think of him in the Need for Speed movie a little bit, but
he's great in that.
He is great in that. But no, I think that's a really good pick, and I think it just goes to show. You talked about Breaking Bad being arguably one of the best shows ever. Yeah. It just goes to show based off of the actors that they got and how many of those were probably their breakout roles. So I love that pick. I knew if you're going to do this list and if you've seen the show, you have to probably have a Breaking Bad character on there because it's just a monumental show.
And I know a lot of people have a ton of Game of Thrones characters on their list, but I've never seen it. So
So if you're looking for Game of Thrones stuff, neither of us have seen it. So
just a spoiler alert for our list. No Game of Thrones characters make it.
Yes. No, that's a great pick. But my number 4 is from Harry Potter, and I don't know if you've watched any of the Harry Potter movies. But one of my least favorite characters, and if you watch Harry Potter, you guys are going to be agreeing with this one, and that is Dolores Umbridge. Now, she is literally the definition of I hate her.
Okay.
Like, I hate her worse than I hate Ginny and Forrest Gump.
Obviously, she's number 4.
She's number 4, right? But this character is so frustrating. Every time she's on the screen, she's always doing something that hurts somebody else. She's like literally physically abusing these kids at Hogwarts, the school. Like, you literally hate her. But she's so important to the show. She builds so much character. She provides so much to the story that you're like, I understand like why they're there. It's one of those characters that when they're gone, you're like, thank goodness. But like up until that point, you're just like, it doesn't get any worse than this. Like she's worse than the main villain. Like I hate her that much. But no, that's my pick for number 4. I know you haven't. You're not a big.
Unfortunately, I think my time has passed for even watching Harry Potter.
I think you could still get into it.
Maybe, but I wasn't allowed to watch them as a child, and I just never have. And there's so many of them, and I know that.
Oh, it is a big time commitment.
And I know saying that as someone who's watched the MCU 3 times is like a little like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
But watch something new. But I personally have not seen it, and I know that's sad for a lot of you, but I've heard that's a good pick. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the people that have watched it are going to probably 100% agree with it because she's the worst. I'm going to say that about every one of my characters. She's the worster. So I'm going to keep adding
Worster.
Yeah, I'm going to keep getting worse as we get on here. But you guys will agree with it. Hater. But, Harry Potter, I know you said you're like a little bit probably past that age. It's a really fun Christmas movie.
Christmas movie.
Yes. It always happens.
Like Die Hard.
Yeah, kind of. Like it's always like there's always
Christmas happening around.
Yes, literally. And so maybe you can find it in you to watch the first one this year.
Maybe.
Obviously, they get better as they get older because the kids act better and stuff like that.
Sure.
But even in the first movie, they do a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's charming.
It is. It literally is. It's literally like a cult thing. Like a cult following.
Let me pose this to the listeners. If we get 15 people to recommend me to watch
Harry Potter,
okay, I will watch all 8.
I think there's 8. Yeah,
8, and we'll rank them.
Okay.
No,
so
that would be super fun.
We'll
rank them.
And you won't regret it by the end of it. Yeah. You'll enjoy it. I think you really would enjoy the ride.
I need 15 people to reach out to us through Twitter and share.
And Instagram. We have
and
to,
or
and one of our social media.
Meant to say Instagram.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right, guys, you've got to help me out here because we have to get Zane to watch this.
Okay.
But no, that's my pick for number 4.
Yeah, it's not a high bar. It's only 15 people.
Well, it's hard to get 15 people to like anything. Right. So.
But okay, well, my number 4, I think everyone's gonna hate your list, from just like pure hatred, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh man, that's a really good character," because my list is one of my favorite characters from Netflix, and that's Wilson Fisk from the Netflix Daredevil, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and man, is that show nothing without Wilson Fisk.
Yeah,
his presence, and I'm going to say presence 75,000 times during this podcast, but his massive size that he's portrayed in, he didn't even gain that much weight, but there's a lot of camera trickery that they did, and a lot of staging. That cinematography is just really good in that show. It's my favorite Marvel show of all time. Very closely tied with, very closely beats out Loki and beats out Punisher by just a little bit. Punisher's role in Daredevil actually is what
pushes it over the edge.
Allows it to be there, but you just hate him. You hate Wilson Fisk. You hate everything he's doing. He's starring opposite of Daredevil, who is a flawed character, but is definitely your hero. You want him to win at all times, and the things that he does is just so evil, but you start to feel some compassion for him, and then he slams a car door on somebody's head and completely decapitates
and there goes that compassion you felt.
And there goes that compassion. And he does something absolutely just evil and terrifying, and his dealings are just so corrupt and so terrible that you really hate him, and there's no chance you're rooting for him, but you are just so in awe of the person that's being portrayed on screen and how good they are, and his monologues are so good. And him and Vanessa, and you can kind of start to feel the compassion because you start to feel that relationship he's building between Vanessa and him, and you get to see like his Rabbit in a Snowstorm painting, and you're seeing the pain that he's feeling from his father and everything that happened as a child, and such an amazing character that you hate.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to have those kind of connections with those characters, watching a show and so happy they're on screen, but never wanting them to win.
Yep.
And when they do, you're upset.
Yep.
Like, because man, every time he's successful, you're so much more upset for Daredevil than you ever would have been for Kingpin.
Wilson 100%.
Fisk. So
yeah.
But yeah, I love Wilson Fisk. I love the Daredevil series, and he kind of had to make my play because man, what an amazing series, and one of the best antagonists of all time.
Oh, 100%.
Especially for I think he's significantly better than Thanos. And that's
it's like as a villain,
as like one that you like really like want to hate, and it's almost more equal, right?
And what helps him, I think, is like
he's relatable.
Yeah, like there can be a Wilson Fisk, there can't be a Thanos in the world. Literally can't. You know what I mean?
But aliens, dude.
Yeah, there can be a Wilson Fisk, so it does make it like relatable.
It's more grounded.
Yeah, it can be a real thing.
And one of the reasons why we think Marvel may be falling off for some people is because they've lost that grounded aspect.
Yes.
You know, I heard somebody say it the other day in something, but they were like, you know, Iron Man literally went toe to toe with Thanos, but had trouble beating the Taliban. Like,
Yeah,
and so it's like
that's character development.
right, it is, and it's
Yeah.
and it's power increase and everything that they wanted to tell. But you know, something that made Iron Man so successful is the groundedness of it and being able to like actually understand and the realism, and that's why Marvel was better to screen than DC is because of how real, like the realism that was there. And so I hope they kind of get back to that a little bit,
Which I think helps with the new Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman. It's more grounded.
That's why everyone loves it.
Yeah, the Riddler can be just a terrorist, you know, just
Yeah.
someone who's doing evil things. And people say the same thing about Spider-Man. Obviously, he's not ever going to... The MCU Spider-Man's not going back to those ground-level crimes.
Maybe
I don't think so.
he's in a loft, dude.
I think
He has no money.
Right? Well, all it takes, though, is like the Guardians to come flying through and pick him up and he's gone. But, you know...
They don't know who he is.
They might. You know, that's a different... You know, they weren't inside the world when it happened. But anyway... that's what people want. They want the more grounded, you know, give us, you know, the goblin, the Green Goblin, just a person that's, you know, got some tech and stuff, but it feels more grounded. So I feel I get that same sentiment because it is more relatable. You know, you can feel for Spider-Man more than you can when he's fighting, you know, this 9 foot tall purple guy, right?
Yeah.
So like, no, I agree with that pick. That's super good pick because he is probably... Oh, I don't want to say that because I haven't thought about this, but you could argue him on that Mount Rushmore of villains, depending on like what you're putting.
It's
you know,
close.
if you're saying MCU, like, or Marvel villains, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say he's probably on the Mount Rushmore.
live action performance.
Yes.
I think.
But
fair.
there's an argument for him on just villains.
There is.
And I wouldn't put him there.
It's just hard.
But there is an argument. So, yeah.
But
that's a
man,
good pick.
I think just the relatability is really hard. But, all right. I personally think we're going to have one matching pick, and that's it.
Do you think we're going to have... I don't think we'll have a matching one.
Oh, maybe not.
I don't think so.
Well,
maybe. Is this your last Marvel one?
That's
your only Marvel one?
That's my only Marvel.
Because I only have one more Marvel one, and that's my number 3.
Okay, well, let's hear your number 3.
So my number 3, and I think you know I was going to say this because I talk about them all the time about how much I hate the character, but they're the main villain of the show, and they definitely make the movie better, and that's the High Evolutionary in Guardians of the Galaxy
That's what I was
Volume 3. You hate him. Literally, he causes you to cry in that movie because of what he's doing to these animals and to Rocket, this character that you've come to love over the span of all these movies, and you just hate what he's done. You know, you hate, you know, for me, I'm a huge animal person, so like seeing that stuff be done to these animals is just so cruel. You literally hate the character, but without that movie is not as good. It's just not, and that's what we've talked about. It's probably the best Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But it loses points because it's not rewatchable because of how hard it is to watch.
I watched it 4 times.
Well, you're the novel, you know. But it's one of those movies you really have to be in the okay mood to be sad.
Yeah,
you know, it's not going to be something you're not going to throw that on like you would the first Iron Man. No, you know, you're not going to throw that on like you would Guardians 1.
Guardians 2 is like the most rewatchable.
Yeah, it's the
most
funnest.
Comedic.
Yeah, so like this movie is not that.
Yeah.
But he is such a good villain in the way the story evolves and the way he ultimately comes to his demise. Perfect. It's beautiful. Like that's what makes it so special.
One of my favorite things in that fight, like in the final fight, is that he does nothing.
Yep.
Is that he just gets the crap beat out.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you hate him so much, you don't even want him to get a good hit.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, you don't even want him to get a good punch. Or, like, make the hero feel like they're going to lose.
Yeah.
He just loses.
Yeah, he just loses.
Yes, and that's so beautiful. It's such good story writing. So, yeah, he's my number 3. I literally hate him. And for me personally, when I think of MCU villains that I do just hate, I wouldn't say he's the best villain, but he is definitely my most hated MCU villain.
Without a doubt.
He's the cruelest.
I cannot have any compassion for him. No. I don't sympathize at all
with
his motives.
No,
I hate
not a bit.
Everything about him.
Yeah. So you guys are kind of seeing the differences in our list. Like, I love him because of how much I hate
him. Yeah, you went more with the phrase, I love to hate them.
Yes, I love to hate. Well, but you did still.
Hate and love them.
Yeah, you still have that element, though.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I went with that. But yeah, High Evolutionary. I hate him. Like, you guys know, we talked about it. I collect Funko Pops. I almost didn't even want to buy that one.
He's sitting over there.
Yeah, you have him sitting here. I almost didn't even want to buy him because I hate him so much, but he's so good. Like, I was like, I need him.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also it's Funko Pops.
Yeah, I had to have it, right? But no, number 3 for me is a High Evolutionary.
Man, and I really, like, when I thought about characters I hate, like, he was definitely there, because when his face gets ripped off, I'm so thankful that Rocket just is, like, laying into that dude's face. Like, that is a joyous moment, and I've never seen something, like, almost that
so gruesome,
that gory, that gruesome, that violent, and be like so happy about
you like
it.
keep going, like
Like, how's he survive this?
yeah, like, don't let him keep clawing.
Yeah. And he just got done killing all his friends.
Yeah,
Man.
dude, that's what I'm saying, man. Literally,
Man,
the
yeah.
tears are flowing. But that's my number 3, and
Yeah.
I think we maybe. I don't think our top
Okay,
2.
well then we probably don't,
I don't think so.
because I have 3 left.
Yeah, I would be shocked if we do.
One of mine's from one of your favorite franchises, so that's what I was thinking it might. But
Okay.
and that's number 3.
Okay,
So number 3 for me is Negan from The Walking Dead.
awesome character.
Played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is just the ooze is cool.
Another character too that's kind of become known for being the villain. You
Yeah.
know, very similar to Giancarlo Esposito. He's kind of gets typecast, like cast into that type of role. Negan, man. Tell me why. Give me some reasons.
Just Negan's presence, his introduction, his
Oh,
threat.
it's the best.
Like he is such a threat, and you've come to love these characters so much, and you kind of go with them. And that was the top of Walking Dead. That was the show that I
the
was.
hype, for
That was
sure.
like one of the only shows I actually got. We talked about like the first show I actually watched as it was coming out.
Me
That
too.
was a massive like cultural phenomenon. I remember like getting the USB from Corey on Sunday nights after church and like on the black market at PCC and like, oh, you got the newest episode? Like, yeah. We had like 15 people doing watch parties, like had somebody like standing guard at the door so no one came in and saw us, like never getting hired back at PCC, by the way. But like,
well, hopefully we don't get like flagged for this request because Zane's admitting to piracy over here.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, he
I
paid
didn't-
for it.
I didn't pirate it.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't Zane.
Somebody else?
Yeah, someone else. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
He
I
didn't
never
even know that
pirated
was
it.
on the USB. He just plugged it in. And
That's right.
Yeah,
It was just a USB that was given to me.
Yeah, he just happened to watch what was presented. Yeah,
That's exactly.
Yeah.
But I absolutely loved it. And then what he does is so violent, and spoiler alert for Walking Dead, obviously one of the most famous points, but one of your favorite characters, Glenn, who you known from the beginning, just absolutely gets his head smashed in by Lucille, his favorite baseball bat, and just the height of Walking Dead. Honestly, I think they said 30% of their viewers stopped watching after that episode. Didn't even finish the season because just like what an impactful moment it was and how horrible it was for the show to lose him. And Negan, you just can't like him, but then he oozes cool.
Oh, he is.
Every bit of
The leather
dialogue is
jacket.
amazing. He's reasoning with Rick, and like, if you don't defend what you love, somebody's going to take it.
Yeah.
He's like, somebody's going to take it. I can't change that. You can't change that. It's just
and he's
how
so
it is.
nonchalant about it. Like it's cool.
Ooh, baby!
Yeah, you can almost say Lucille is a villain, right? Because of how much he hypes
personifies
it up.
her. So good, and he just when he loses, it's such a sweet moment and such amazing. And honestly, I stopped watching after that season.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the show because I think Rick should have killed him, and also things were happening in my life. We just kind of fell out. I think the show kind of did lessen its quality, but I think Negan was just. Man, amazing what he did to every character. And it wasn't just that one moment. He continued throughout that entire season. What he did with his relationship with Carl.
I was about to say.
And how like they connected, but like he still hated them so much and he was still willing to do such evil to him. Man.
Well, it's one of those things. Like
you hate him, but you love the character. You're so glad he's in the show.
Yeah, and he's like you said, we talked about the relatability and stuff like that. But like the way he is so conniving about like making you feel like he is helping people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like Carl. Like, you're like, oh, he's kind of helping Carl. You know, he's giving him some tips and some tricks. He's teaching him the way of the road.
He might be better than Rick.
Yeah, he might be a better dad than Rick is at this point. But then he does terrible things. You're like,
cuts his hand off.
Never mind. You know, he's a terrible person. So, like, yeah, that's such a great, that literally personifies what we're talking about here. You know, characters you love to hate. Now, we'll say I do have a Walking Dead character on my list.
But it's not.
It's not Negan.
Whoa.
So, it's
the priest.
It's what's his name? I don't even remember
know,
his
but I
name.
hated him.
Yeah. But it is a character. The reason I thought about Negan, and it's because I think, again, I went towards that hate factor.
Yeah.
You know,
You liked him too much.
I started to like Negan. You start to reason with him. You start to be like, I don't want him not in the show.
Yeah.
You know, he adds such a good element. So that's ultimately why I went away from it. So I think,
is your Walking Dead pick number 2?
No, it is number 1.
Okay.
So
I wonder if it's Shane. Anyway, I don't want to. No.
That's a good one, but I'll always say it's not Shane. So
okay, well, what's your number 2?
Number 2.
So we don't have any.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I thought we'd match on Negan.
So number 2 for me is from Peaky Blinders.
Ooh.
and
okay.
it's Chester Campbell.
Okay.
And I absolutely hate that character. I hate characters that are like, they just do bad. Like,
They're
nothing.
just awful.
They're just awful. And he's so important to the show. You know, he does so much for the characters. Like Thomas Shelby wouldn't be the same person he is if he doesn't have those encounters with him. And I literally, Danielle is going to agree, she hated him. Like, she wouldn't even put him on a list that she liked because she hated him so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, again,
Justifying his character.
Justifying is he did such a good job of playing that role of, oh, I hate this dude. You know, he doesn't do anything right. He's always, you know, hurting people. He's always trying to do personal gains. He's always getting other people to do the hateful things he wants done. So at the end of the day, he can't say he did it. And I just hate that type of stuff, you know?
Okay.
He's abusing his power. He's doing all that stuff. He's another one when he is finally gone. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy he is dead. But I'm kind of like, well, how are you going to replace that? You know, he adds such a good element. I think that show did a really good job of replacing it. But no, he is my number 2. I don't know if you've watched Peaky Blinders. It's not something we've really talked about a whole lot.
So I've watched, I think, the first 2 seasons of Peaky Blinders. My wife hated it.
Okay.
And so it was one of those where, like, I didn't have Netflix on my phone. It was only on the TV. And, like, it's hard to watch a show that's that long by yourself, finding time to watch it by yourself. So it's one I want to watch. I know it's highly recommended. It's amazing. I've seen clips, and I do love Cillian Murphy. I think he's just he's so good, and I think he does a great job in that role. And I enjoyed everything about it. But man, when she's not on board, she's not on board.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard to watch. What is it like? It's 4 seasons now, right? 4 or 3?
It might be 5.
5 seasons.
I think so. And then they have a movie coming out.
It's like 40 hours of content.
Oh, it's a
minimum.
Lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
That's tough to swallow by yourself.
No, it is. But he is. You know him, and then since you watched those first 2 seasons, he's terrible.
Yeah,
but he's good. He's great. Love him. Yeah, but I hate him.
He's a good actor.
He is a great actor. All right. So that's my number 2.
No matching.
Nope, I don't think so.
No matching for us. Sadness. That's okay though. All right. So for me, number 2. I don't know if you've seen this movie. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. This is one I recommend to anyone to watch, but who coming in at number 2 is Fletcher from Whiplash, played from J.K. Simmons.
Yep, I've not seen this one.
Man, Fletcher from Whiplash, I think, is the epitome of someone just you hate. And this is probably my most, like,
kind of more in line
with your list.
Okay.
Like, you just hate him. He's fascinating, and you're encapsulated by every scene. He controls the frame, he controls the pace, and the tempo that he does, and not quite my tempo. He says that in one of the most iconic scenes. I'll actually show it to you after we get off this the podcast. But him playing Whiplash and his scene and his presence opposite of Miles Teller is just so intimidating. It's so controlling. It's so possessive. And then what he does to the end is just pure evil.
Yep.
And like, he gets caught up for his wrongs. He gets called out. He gets his punishment. And you think he's growing as a person, and then he just is just like,
he's just awful.
He's just evil. But like, man, when he chucks that chair at that drummer and he slap him in the face saying, am I leading or am I lagging? Am I leading or was I lagging? So you do know the difference. And his performance in that is just, it's what makes it one of the best movies of all time. It's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. J.K. Simmons is that movie. Miles Teller is the main character, but without J.K. Simmons, there is no Whiplash. Like, I don't know if anyone, and we just talked about recasting.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone on this planet that can do it as well as J.K. Simmons did.
It does go to, we talked about Born for the Role, right?
Yeah.
One of the characters that was born for the role. It's not saying someone else couldn't have done a good job, but they just wouldn't have matched that.
Because I even thought of him like Omni-Man, right?
Oh.
I thought about him for like characters you love to hate, but he becomes a hero in the second season.
I thought the same thing. I wanted an Invincible character on my list so bad. Yeah. I think that might be out of the
things. They're too likable.
Out of the things we've talked about on the show, I feel like that's the show that we both just love.
Yeah.
Like, it's our top show, like, all the time. Like, we're always like, oh, can't wait.
I can't wait for more Invincible.
Yeah, we want Invincible more than anything else. Like, I want it more than Star Wars. I want it more than Marvel stuff. Because I think it's different. You know, we've grown up with the Star Wars and the Marvel.
There's so much to do.
Exactly.
And also I didn't know anything about it. Whenever you
Yep.
don't know anything,
Oh, it's exciting.
also new, exciting.
Yeah.
So
So no, but I wanted an invincible character, so it's cool that you still kind of got like
man,
it's a voice actor, but you got one from the Invincible universe.
I even
on
think
here.
of him as like a J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, I do. That's
like,
that's what
like,
I think of him as. Like,
right, but like he is just such a good hateable character.
Yep.
But man, Whiplash. If you need to watch Whiplash,
I know
I'll
it's
need
not.
to
Watch that.
It's not quite your tempo.
Well, so I've been trying to expand my stuff.
I'm trying to get you there.
I'm trying to get there because there's just so much good stuff. I need to adjust my things.
Yeah.
I need to get away from just those cool action scenes.
That's right.
Like Green Hulk catching Red Hulk's fist in this fight that's coming up. But no, I need to expand my stuff a little bit. So maybe that'll be one I'll add to my list here soon.
And if anyone out there hasn't watched Whiplash, watch Whiplash. It's 10 out of 10 for me. It's 1 out of 10 for Chelsea.
Oh, so this is a pretty polarizing moment.
There was not one moment of that film she liked.
Well, at least you got to watch it, right?
Yeah. I watched it 3 times.
There you go. So that's a great number 2. But so moving on,
your number 1.
My number 1 from The Walking Dead. When I say the character, you'll probably get where I'm going with it because I just hate him, and I don't think there are some moments of the show that you
Daryl Dixon.
No, it's Carol. No, I'm just kidding. But there are some moments where you do kind of start to feel for him, but by the end of it, you still hate him, and that's the governor.
Okay.
Oh man, there's some moments through like he just always is doing something wrong. I hate him, but there are some moments. This is probably my most character out of my list that you do kind of start to side with a little bit. Like those episodes after he loses his eye and he's just kind of going through the motions. He's finding new people. You do kind of feel bad for him because you realize he's lost his family. He lost his daughter. He's lost his whole town that he had built up and all this stuff. And then you're like, oh, he's meeting new people, and then he starts manipulating them. And then he gets to the one moment where he could have been redeemed, and he just cuts Herschel's head right off.
Clean off.
I hate it, right? So I just hate him so much. And I like having, we talk about it all the time.
That's a big hate character.
Yes, I hate him. And he just does so much terrible things to other people, when
Negan's too redeemable.
Negan has too many redeemable qualities.
Okay.
At the end of this one, this guy doesn't. The governor, when he's gone, again, I was like, well, where did they go from here? Because I hadn't read the comics when I watched it. I was just...
but killing Herschel is not like killing Glenn.
No, it's not. Negan killing Glenn is much worse. But you also, like I said, we have those moments where you're like, oh, Negan's kind of cool. I kind of like him a little bit.
He oozes cool.
Yeah, you don't like the governor. No, he's not cool.
He's not cool.
He's just a jerk.
He's a loser.
Yeah, you just hate him. And I wanted to have a Walking Dead one on here. And when we do these top 5s, I like to try to throw a Walking Dead character on there because I always attribute it to opening my inner nerd. Because before that, I liked Star Wars and stuff, but I didn't watch it like I watched The Walking Dead. It was my first show I ever watched every week. Sunday nights were the best. You're like, oh, let's watch the new Walking Dead episode. I even stayed up and watched The Talking Dead afterwards. So I like having a Walking Dead character, and there's just no redeeming qualities about the governor. So number 1 on my characters I love to hate.
I think it's a great pick, especially for kind of how you went, like with absolute hate.
Mm-hmm.
That is really good.
But you love the role. It's not the same without.
That's one of the things that made Walking Dead so good is the threats that made anyone killable.
Yes.
Right? And once people start to become plot armor, and they really did lose. And so with the governor and with Negan, we really were at the height of anyone could go at any time, and we just had these incredible threats that no one could beat.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great pick. The governor is one that honestly I kind of forget about, and maybe that's one of the reasons he didn't like pop up into my mind for this. Is he is a little bit more forgettable on the show for me. Negan's definitely more rememberable.
When it happens early on, the governor,
it does
a lot earlier on.
Season 2 or
yes,
something.
I think it's 3.
3.
Maybe.
No, it's 3 because 2 is prison. 3 is after.
So it's so like you just hate him.
He's horrible.
Yeah, he's worst. He's the worst of them all.
Yeah. Gotta do it. 5 of them. Let's go.
The worst of them all.
Yeah.
That might have been 6.
And an est.
Yeah. Oh, you got the EST at the end.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Well, governor for you. Now for me, maybe one of the greatest villain performances of all time. I don't really know. There's not too much to say, but the Joker from The Dark Knight, played by Heath Ledger.
Yep.
Just an all-time performance. Absolute perfection of a villain. I think there is no argument. He is Mount Rushmore.
Oh, yeah. So,
and you love seeing him. You love seeing everything he does. You love seeing he is the epitome of a Batman villain. And one of the reasons I absolutely despise the Joaquin Phoenix Joker films is because I don't feel like it's a Joker film.
No.
I don't feel like he's in control. Like, because the Joker portrays nonsense while in control, and that's kind of his shtick.
It's calculated.
Is that he's so calculated. He's calculated insanity.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's anything calculated about Joaquin Phoenix, but what Heath Ledger did with the character is just an all-time performance, golden performance. It's up there in probably will never be topped from a Joker.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. It may be, but it will have to be something different. I think Jared Leto did a
better.
Well, it has the right idea because you can't copy it. Right.
No,
you're going to have to separate. You're going to have to do something to go forward from that. And I personally am one of those oddballs who liked Jared Leto's Joker. I liked what they did, and I really wish we would have got all the stuff that they cut from it. But the Joker in The Dark Knight is my number one love to hate because he is my favorite villain. I love seeing him on screen, but you don't want him to win. You don't want him to be successful. You're so thankful when they don't blow up. When the fairies don't blow up and they're saved and he's losing his freaking mind and his whole world is crumbling, there's so much joy and you're so thankful, but you're on the edge of your seat because you think it's going to work.
Yeah, someone's going to.
And the way these movies are shot and they're so dark and they're so gritty. You do, like, personally, the first time I watched that, I did think he was going to lose. I did not think it was going to turn out well, and so. And even the opening scene, just such menacing villainy of just killing off your colleagues and escaping the real Joker. Man,
it's iconic.
Yeah, absolutely iconic. The person I love to hate is the Joker, and he is just my number one.
And like you said, he is Mount Rushmore villains.
I don't think it's a question.
And like, I wanted to put him on my list so bad. There's just something like I wanted.
You just like him too much.
Yeah, I wanted that just pure hate. Like you do at the end of the movie, you still kind of like him. You're like, he's kind of cool. Like he has that cool. Yeah, literally. Like I love the bank robber scene. Like it is such cool. And just talking about like there will never be another Joker done the same. Not only the acting, but just like his costume design. Perfect.
So good.
It's so everything about it is great. So yeah,
he had that like 1920s like lunacy vibe. Like,
yes,
he's so classy, but like still like completely over the top, but within world, man,
and knows how to disguise himself better than anybody else. Like, how did Harvey Dent not know that was the Joker
party
and not a nurse, right? Like, so no, I love the Joker. But I wanted to put him on my list so bad, like, because I wanted to like just pick some villains that like I just loved.
Yeah.
But like ultimately I went with just that like pure hatred factor, and like I do just like the character in the movie, and like he does terrible things. He's not a good person, but he's just cool. Kind of like that Negan thing. You're like, oh, he's cool when he's on the screen. You're kind of like, you're not rooting for him, but you kind of want to see what he can push Batman to do, right? You're like, how many buttons can he get Batman to kill him?
Yeah,
like because that's his goal. He wants Batman to kill him.
And maybe I missed the mark on the list.
No, I think I like what our lists have the different dynamics, like because I think they're still doing the same thing.
Yeah,
you still hate these characters,
absolutely,
but you love what they brought and you love like their like aspect of it. And I just went with the pure hatred part of it, but I love that they were in it because they changed the element of the story. So no, that was fun. It was harder to do a list like this than if we were to just pick villains.
I put so much time into this list.
And I want to do a top villain list, which I think that's also been something that's been requested.
Well, specifically, we've been requested a top 5 Marvel MCU villains.
Yeah.
So, and we have to have extreme reasoning for why.
Right.
So, it was very, very specific in the request that we have to have good, solid, concrete, lengthy reasoning for why there are top villains.
Okay, that's gonna be fun. So that's gonna be super fun. So he wouldn't have made the list either way because he's DC, obviously.
Oh, correct.
But no, I love that pick. Like I said, I wanted to put. I literally kept thinking.
I don't have an MCU villain.
Yeah. Well, not an MCU. Yeah, you just have the one Marvel.
Yeah, I just have
character.
Wilson Fisk. Namor is in there, and
but he was an honorable mention. So.
Honorable mention of characters you love to hate, which doesn't mean. And on this list, it's not just best villains because I don't think these are the best villains.
No, I agree. Except with literally the only exception on this list is Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yes.
That is a best villain. But
Yeah.
on
and
both of our
Wilson
lists,
Fisk, arguable.
yeah, in both of our lists, though, there's not one other than the Joker, though, that you're like for sure Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Right? So I love that. I think that's such a good pick because,
Yeah.
man, he's awful.
Yeah, because you can't put Darth Vader on here.
Yeah, and like that was the thing though. Like he's a villain. He is terrible. He does a lot of bad stuff. Like
Yeah.
he wields the Youngling Slayer 9000, right? Like he's a terrible person. But like you kind of like him too. Like you so yeah. That's literally why I didn't put like I felt the same way about the Joker. Like
Yeah.
I put him in that limelight of Darth Vader, Thanos,
Okay.
just those characters that you kind of like. You're like, I like him, you know. So no, I love that pick though because he's the ultimate.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate.
And he may be the one that fits the least with my list. Like everyone else on this, definitely I hate more than I love. And I think that was like the overall theme for my list was hate. With the love the performance.
Yeah.
Love the charisma, love what they brought to the role, love what they brought to the show or movie, and really just added so much.
Well, in both of our lists, if those characters aren't there, that the show's not better.
Yeah.
The movie's not better. So I think we definitely hit the mark of what we were trying to do. We just had two different approaches to it, which is super fun because we had so much variety. We didn't have a single character that was the same. So I don't think you could ask for a better top 5 list from two different people when they don't have any of the same characters because they both get to talk about like, why did you pick that one over this character? So that was super good.
Now we're going forward. We have 2 weeks before we're going to start talking about Rings of Power.
Yep. I need to finish
You're
it.
going to have to finish that.
I need to finish it.
We have 1 week. We'll probably do our MCU villains next week.
Okay.
Before Rings of Power kicks off. We have some stuff. I'll also talk about the bike riders. I did get to watch that, but we're running. I knew that this one was going to be a long one, so
these top 5s always take a little bit of time.
Give my bike rider review. I know not too many people are on here waiting for it, but
we're going to give it a whole episode. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I could.
You could.
I mean, I could. It's not. I don't think it's worth it, but I think if you watched it, we could do it. But
well, that's one thing we need to pose because we did a Deadpool and Wolverine. Solo episode.
Solo review.
If you guys enjoy those type of things, obviously we can always do a whole episode dedicated to breaking down a movie and reviewing and stuff like that. So if that's something you guys would like to reach out to us about on picking some movies that we would just want to watch all the way through and do reviews on, we can always do that.
Absolutely. But unless you got more lists that I'm not aware of, I think we're going to call it.
My list is tapped out.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Weekly Fix. We're sorry it's a day late, but we're glad you joined us regardless. And we'll be back next week with another Weekly Fix.